Hey there, CPO here, and with this video I'm going to begin the assembly of the Thunder Tiger Raptor E550 fly barless model. So I'm going to start with just going through systematically everything I need to do to build this. This is mostly what the instructions provide, although they don't give much detail in the instructions manual. So hopefully I can help fill in some gaps there for you. This particular build is going to cover the assembly of the tail. From the tail boom, the belt and belt tensioning, all the way back to the tail blades. So let's get started. So as you can imagine, the most important piece we need is this tail boom assembly, which thankfully is almost completely put together. So we got to get this tape off first. And before you actually put the boom on, we need to make sure we put this tail boom clamp on. It's going to be really hard to get on if you don't do this first. So get that slipped on and we'll deal with it later. And you can just push it up so it's out of the way. The next thing we need to do is loosen up the two screws that are at the back of our main frame that hold our tail boom in. Get those loosened up because we're going to want to spread that open just a little bit so we can slip the boom in. Then we want to deal with the belt. You want to make sure that you get it nice and straight, and you can look down, sight it, or just get a feel for it. It should turn nice and easy. And then we're going to twist it, depending on your perspective, we're going to twist it counterclockwise or towards you if you're holding it the way I'm holding it. You may find it's helpful to just move those tail boom supports back out of the way until you need them. And then you're just going to slip your belt, keeping it still twisted in the way you just twisted it. And again, that was a counterclockwise 90-degree twist. And you're going to slip that through, and it's going to snake down underneath there as you slip the boom into the mainframe. And then what you want to do is get that belt around that lower gear, the tail drive gear or the auto rotation gear. And once you get that all settled in, just kind of give a little bit of a pull on the whole boom to snug that up a little bit. You'll see I'll pull a little bit out, and that'll tighten things up. And then we'll work on adjusting the belt tension. And you see here the belt is going through those pulleys. It's important, just double check and make sure. And you can see here as I spin the tail how everything spins nicely there. You may find at this point it's helpful to add some weight to the front. I'm just going to slip the battery in here, not strap it down or anything, but the added weight of the tail boom now makes it want to tip over. So this will just kind of help keep it in place. And here's what we're looking at now. As I rotate the main rotor in a clockwise direction, as seen from the top, the tail rotor is going to rotate in a counterclockwise direction. Here's a couple different angles so you can see how that's supposed to look. If it's not going the right direction, your belt twist is wrong. So go back and make sure that's right first. So for checking belt tension, I'm going to use my digital caliper. And you can see here it's got that little depth gauge. And I'm just going to fit that in there and push it up against the frame and align it so that the depth gauge just barely touches my belt. Just get it to where it's about just touching. And then from that point, I'm going to hit 0. It doesn't matter what that number is. Just zero it out right there. And then add 5 millimeters to it. The belt tension should be less than 5 millimeters. So that's how we're going to tell this. So once you get it at 5, lock that in. And now you have a little gauge that you can push in, and as long as you don't overly bottom out, you should be able to push in just to barely where your caliper is going to touch the frame, or maybe just a little bit shy, and you should be good on belt tension. Then once you have that, go ahead and tighten up the two screws at the back of the main frame. No thread lock is needed here because those are nylock nuts in there. I like to periodically just check alignment and make sure everything's lined up the way I would expect it to be. This tail fin should be exactly vertical and aligned with your mainframe. Looking good. So now we want to deal with these boom supports. So go ahead and slide this whole assembly forward until your boom support holes align with the holes of the frame. You'll have a little plastic self-threading screw at the Phillips head to hold these boom supports on. So go ahead and put that on there and just screw it into the plastic there at the back side of the frame. When you're done, repeat on the other side. Next, you're going to want to tighten down the back side of those boom supports in the boom support bracket. and you'll need a little wrench or something. Then just double check the alignment. You want that to be horizontal, and I use the main gear to align with. Next, we're going to install the tail boom support brace, and it's these two pieces, and they're going to fit together with the flat sides together. And then use this little screw and then the nylock nut on the other side. Get them tightened down, and that nut will cinch down inside the plastic and hold itself. I pull it all the way apart and fasten it down tight in its fully open position. There we go. Now it's ready to put onto the boom supports. And just kind of slip it on there. And slide it up. I think somewhere around a third of the way up is a fairly reasonable, but you want it kind of snug, not too tight. And then here's what the manual doesn't tell you. You need 4 of these little zip ties to fasten this onto the boom supports. And the kit didn't come with any zip ties. It's one of the few things I found that wasn't included in the kit. So you'll need 4 zip ties to finish this part. And the instructions, like I said, don't show it. They don't mention anything, and all the pictures, all the drawings don't show the zip ties installed. But if you look at the actual photos, you'll see it's there. So I'm not sure, that's kind of an oversight in the manual. And here's a close-up of one of them so you can really see exactly where those are going through. So I'm putting all of the heads of the zip ties down below and cinching it down against the flat part of that bottom plastic area. And you'll see here when I flip it over what it looks like. Just get them all nice and tight. This is going to help reduce vibration with your boom supports and also keep them together should they come loose for some reason. Hopefully keep one of them from flying up into your main blades. Just cut the ends of the zip ties off and we're done with that part. Alright, now we want to deal with the tail boom clamp. And it's this aluminum piece we put on earlier. Get it pushed all the way up against the frame. And you're going to use a screw, and this time we're going to need thread lock. And it's going to screw directly into the clamp. And just tighten it down. This is designed to keep it from the tail boom from pushing back in and loosening your belt tension. Remember, we pulled out and got it where we want it, and this is what holds it from going too far in. The next thing we want to do is add this little adapter to connect our tail control rods. So just, again, thread lock is needed here. Use those grub screws, and then our tail control rod will slip through the little holes, these guides in the frame. And then we'll slip it into that tail control rod joint. And once you get them both pushed into there, you can tighten those grub screws down to lock them in. And then just make sure, you know, everything moves freely, everything's, you know, facing in the right direction, and nothing's binding. Next, we want to tighten down these tail rod guides. But before I tighten them down, I actually like to loosen them up just a little bit and make sure they're nice and free. I tend to find that these things find their natural positioning where there's no binding. So loosen them up, kind of wiggle them around a little bit. I have them split up about, you know, equal thirds of the tail boom. And once they're set in their kind of natural position, go ahead and tighten them down. Make sure there's no binding. You also want to make sure your joint doesn't bump into anything. And now we need to put our ball link on the front of that tail control rod. Don't worry about locking it in any particular length right now. Just get it on there so you don't lose it. We'll probably have to adjust that later. So I'm one of those guys that likes to weigh my blades, the tail blades, just to see if I can get them equal weight. And you can see here, one of them is a little bit lighter than the other, maybe about 0.2 grams. But anyway, I found a little bit of Scotch tape wrapped around the leading edge, makes them pretty much the same weight. So I'm just going to add that on there. I don't know if it really makes a difference or not, but that's what I do. And then go ahead and put them on, and you want to make sure that on the right side, if you're facing it the way we're looking at it now, that the leading edge is up, because that's going to be the direction of the blade movement. Remember, they're going to be running counterclockwise, so you want that leading edge pushing up into the prop wash. And these are nylock screws, so again, no thread lock is required here. Just get them on, tighten them down. And everybody's got a preference on how tight they like them. I like them where they're just snug enough that they'll stay in place when you put them in a position, but if you bump them, they'll move. So that's kind of what I'm going for here. and I tinker with them till I get them just kind of where I want them. That's just a little bit too light. This is probably going to be it. Yeah, there you go. Just enough. They pretty much stay in place unless you bump them. And then put on the other one. You can see this one actually has the tape on it if you look carefully, but it's just folded over the leading edge, and hopefully will help minimize any tail vibrations by keeping those blades balanced. Again, looking for the right tension for my preference. There we go. Alright, and this is how it should look once it's completed. Remember, it's going to rotate counterclockwise. Alright, so that is the tail assembly. Here's what our heli looks like at this point. Tail boom all affixed, and everything's looking really good. Quick look, make sure all my alignment is right. Looking good there, pretty happy. So that's it. Hope you found this helpful, and I'll be continuing on this build as I can find time. And so I thank you for watching, and I'll catch you on the next one.